What we see happening with Jade in this scene is undeniable proof that everything we have ever done since arriving into this town has been only beneficial to the entity in control of the monsters and the evil forces living in this town.
None of them are ripped apart. They weren't killed by the creatures in the woods. These men were murdered by the people in town.
I warned you. The answers you sought come wrapped in painful truths. It's always the same. Once they learn the truth about who you are, that it was you that the children were calling for, eventually they kill you.
This scene right here is huge, bigger than you think in every single way. Because I want you to really think about what this 12-year-old Jade boy in the blue was actually saying in this scene. Because he says that the men that Jade is reincarnated from are always taken out by the people of the town, but that it specifically only happens after the townspeople find out the truth about Jade and who he really is. It's very important that you take note of how it is specifically stated by the 12-year-old Jade boy in blue that Jade only gets clapped after they discover the truth about who he is in particular. Because what this tells us is that all of these versions of Jade that have been coming into the town for hundreds and hundreds of years, every single one of these versions of Jade made it to the point in the story where they played the violin at the bottle tree and recovered the memory of their role in the supposed child sacrifice, just like our current version of Jade did. The reason why this matters so much and why you really need to understand this is that it conclusively means that up to this point in the show, there is not a single thing that the people currently living in this version of the town have done that separates them from all of the other cycles that have occurred in this place before our current townspeople arrived in Fromville. And remember, Jade himself is the one who told the townspeople and Boyd about him and Tabitha experiencing what they did at the bottle tree that made them believe that they are reincarnations. So it's obvious that all of these other versions of Jade also did the same exact thing with their own group of townspeople when they were alive. Basically, what I'm trying to say here is that all of these other supposed reincarnations of Jade, all of them, every single one of them also made it to this exact point in the story that we are in right now, where they discovered every single piece of information that our own version of Jade currently has. And this matters a lot because guess what? Every single one of those versions of Jade still failed. And this is something we know to be true without a doubt because of a very simple fact. Fromland and the monsters are still here. And I really want you to think about the implications that naturally arise from the fact that all of these other versions of Jade had the same exact level of knowledge that our current Jade also has, but yet they still failed. Think about it. What does that really tell you? And I want you to remember the 12-year-old Jade boy specifically said that Jade is only killed after the townspeople realize that he is supposedly the same soul as the father of a child from the original sacrifice. This definitively means that what we saw from Jade in this cycle, i.e. him discovering that he is a reincarnation and telling the townspeople about it, is not an anomaly. It's as a repeating part of the cycle of Fromville as people getting torn to pieces by the monsters. This is very important because it directly means that there is nothing we have seen so far, absolutely nothing, separating our current group of townspeople from every other group that has ever existed in this town. In other words, what this tells us is that everything we've been doing this entire time since we arrived into the town has been exactly what the entity wanted us to do, so that this cycle would also have the same exact conclusion as every other cycle, i.e. the monsters and the evil side of the town once again winning the game. And this makes perfect sense because there are so many signs that the game has been rigged in such a way to guarantee that only the evil forces of this town could ever possibly even win, something that is obviously heavily supported by the scene that I'm about to show you.
That was a hell of a song. That Jade sure can play. Get out of here. Run.
This scene with the man in yellow is just one of the many obvious signs of a very obvious truth that way too many people keep missing, which is that everything we have been doing since we first arrived into this town has been exactly what the entity in control of the monsters wanted us to do, which is why we can see the man in yellow complimenting Jade on his ability to play the violin. And I've said this many times before. If the entity did not want Jade and Tabitha to remember their supposed past lives, he would have sent the Nightwalkers to remove the bottles from the bottle tree. But but he has not done that, which directly tells us that the bottles aren't some sort of act of defiance against his control. God, no. Their presence is actually a part of the story that the entity is trying to tell. Basically, he allows the bottles to stay there because they directly suit the obviously evil goals that he's trying to accomplish. That evil goal being to make the people living in the town turn on each other and start taking themselves out, because that is when their suffering is at their highest it possibly can be. A lot of people make the mistake of assigning the construction of the bottle trees to Victor's mom, but canonically speaking, we still do not know who placed those bottles up on that tree. And based off of things Victor's dad claims the bottle tree was already in Fromville long before Victor's mom even arrived in the first place. And according to the official timeline that is in the show itself, the bottles on the bottle tree were actually placed there way back in the 1600s, which is obviously long before 1981 when Victor's mom actually came into the town. So she was not the one who placed the bottles on either of those trees, something obviously supported by the fact that Victor's dad specifically said that Victor's mom could see each and every one of her past lives before she even came into the town, but yet Victor himself had to tell his mother about going into the bottle tree to save the children in the first place. So what we do know for a fact about the origin of the bottle trees is that they were not created by Victor's mom or any of the women that she is supposedly reincarnated from. And to me, it's clear that they were made by the entity in control of the monsters himself, because he clearly allows the bottles to stay up on that tree specifically so that Jade and Tabitha could remember their past lives, which he wants to happen because it guarantees that the people of the town will end up turning on each other and therefore cause tremendous suffering after he inevitably crushes the hope that they can save the children that were supposedly sacrificed and leave this place by crushing it into a pile of dust and ashes. All in all, what we are looking at here with the existence of the bottle tree is just more proof of what we already know, that the entire thing has been rigged by the entity to ensure that only he could possibly win the game, which is why this next scene matters more than you think.
So you really think this is going to tell you anything?
I think this place has a design. I don't think anything's here by accident.
Nature has a design, Jade, and that is not nature.
Now, I feel the meaning of this scene has been greatly underestimated by pretty much everyone in this community. Like, I literally never see anybody anywhere talking about this scene with the being pretending to be Tom the bartender and Jade. Because what we see here has always been very intriguing to me, as fake Tom the bartender was basically implying that the bottle trees were actually created by someone or something, which I assume to be the entity himself, to give the townspeople a mystery that misleads them away from the things that they should actually be investigating. Hence his statement that bottles obviously are artificial and therefore not a natural part of the original design of Fromland. To me, this could be a hint to the very popular theory that just like Fromland has an ability to manifest people's fears and nightmares, it must also have the ability to manifest people's dreams as well, which could be a clue that the entity is not a natural part of this place, but that he himself merely found Fromland and twisted and corrupted it from its original purpose to suit his evil agenda, i.e. through forcing it to manifest fears and nightmares rather than hopes and dreams, which may have been the entire point of this place by whoever created it. But what's most important here is fake Tom the bartender's statements are massive clues that the bottle trees were likely made by the entity himself.
Something here knows things about us, and it knows which buttons to push.
What exactly makes you think you're going to be the one to figure this out? I imagine a lot of pretty smart people have tried.
I'm smarter.
The main thing we can see from the revelation that all of these people Jade is reincarnated from made it to the same point in the story where they remembered their role in the child sacrifice and told the townspeople about it is that the soul of the person that Jade came from always makes the same exact mistakes in every single cycle. You can even see Victor's dad asking Jade why he believes there's anything different about him compared to everyone who has come to the town before, and Jade replies that he is smarter than all of them. But we can literally see that each of those versions of himself also made it to the same exact point, which means that no, Jade isn't actually smarter than the people who came before him. He is just as naive as every other person that has ever been in the town, because all of those people he came from likely also thought the same way about themselves, which is why they ended up failing in the first place, and why Jade himself is also being tricked and bamboozled by the entity in control of the monsters into causing his own death, just like every other past version of himself. And of course, Victor's dad is asking him that question because just like the monsters, he thinks it's funny how Jade always makes the same exact mistakes every single time he's reincarnated. But Victor's dad isn't worried at all because everything that the people of the town are doing right now is exactly what the entity in control of the monsters wants them to do.
There is no way to fight back against those things. Every sacrifice we've made, there is no way to win. Game's rigged.
Way too many people still do not understand that nothing is happening here by chance. The entity is actively creating all of the scenarios that we're seeing in this town specifically to achieve various particular outcomes, i.e. the ones where he wins and the people of the town always lose. And we know this to be true because, as we saw with the music box and even with the visions being caused by the man in yellow, the entity can literally even kill people in their dreams if he wanted to do it. Or he can also just implant fake visions and memories to make them kill each other if he wanted to do it. But he doesn't do that. Why? Because it wouldn't be any fun. He wants to see them having hope that they can actually win against this place and then take it away. Because it's only when you actually believed you could escape and then that hope is taken away from you that you would experience true despair and suffering. And he is the one that is giving them electricity and the water coming up through the plumbing. Heck, the entity is probably also the one who built these houses for them in the first place. And we also know that he can crush those same houses in an instant if he wanted to do it. Truth is, the only reason any of these people are alive right now is because the entity allows them to be. And he allows them to be alive because it's all a part of the story being created by him to destroy the people living in this town. And we know this for a fact because even when you look at the people being brought into the town, it's very clear that the entity himself is the one bringing them in the first place. So go watch this video right here to see how we know without a doubt that he is the one who summons people into the town so that he can feed off of their suffering.